Hello everyone and welcome back to Bitwig Studio and Music Production. This is lesson 2.19, and in this lesson we're going to begin the process of setting up a live set. So what we have to do in our project and then how we're actually going to pull loops from full tracks and get them set up in our mixer view so that we can then play them back in real time live without any problems. And now you're going to start to see how much all of our lessons are building on each other. So when I'm doing certain things, I may not explain them in great depth, but the reason for that is because I've already covered these topics in past videos. So for example, both of my tracks are stretched. They're both at 118 BPM. You can see I have my master set to 118 here, and I've stretched these tracks already. So I'm not going to walk through that process. If you're unfamiliar with what stretching means and why we have to do it, you'll need to go back and watch those videos. So here I am in a set. We're on the arranger timeline, obviously. In the last video, we talked about using this mixer view to actually get our set ready to go. Now, I know that as I move forward, I've already made a folder with a bunch of tracks in it, and I know that I have all these different BPMs I'm going to have to use. So sticking at 118 and then copying and pasting to the mix view, it's gonna be kind of a headache. So what I'm gonna do to start off is I'm just gonna open up a new set. Okay, file new, and I'm gonna go straight to our mix view here. I'll turn off the inspector panel, and for right now, let's clean this up. What I'll need to see is pretty much just this. Okay, so I've closed down everything except for our clip launchers, our little scenes right here. I know I'm gonna need 2 audio tracks, so I'll create an audio track. I'll call this deck 1. I'll call this deck 2. We could have multiple decks. We could have something specific for, let's say we want to have effects, or maybe something like movie clips. Not sure what that is. We could put in here acapellas if we had those, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You can make this as simple or as complex as you want. For right now, we're going to be keeping this very, very simple. If you remember before, I put a limiter on the master. I'm going to do that right now just to be safe. And then the other thing I will do is on both of my decks, I'm just going to put an EQ DJ. We're going to be doing more than this, but just for right now to get us back to where we were when we were working just in the arrangement timeline, making our DJ setup. So I'm pretty happy with this. This is all I need for right now. Don't even need to touch the BPM or anything else. And you'll notice that our audio engine is off. So even if I had tracks in here, we wouldn't be able to hear them because the audio engine isn't on. At this point, you should probably save it. I'm not going to save it because I've already done this in the past. But I'm going to jump back now into my other project, which does have the audio engine running. I don't need the browser for right now. And we can just jump straight into it. So here's my first track. I already have it synced up and stretched properly. Let me just put on my headphones here, and I can play it back just so we get a sense for what it is. All right, so the first method you could take if you wanted to, which isn't the way I'm going to do it for the most part, but what you could do is take this full song right here, okay? And we could copy it. So I'm just gonna right click and select copy arranger clip. I encourage you guys to be using your key commands, but when I'm doing a video like this, I think it helps to actually see all the menus and whatnot. I'll jump into my actual live set here, and inside of det 1, I'm just going to paste it. So we still have our stretch clips and everything here, which is great. And you'll notice that this view down here is really a clip view of our audio event as compared to an arranger view here. So it's a little bit different. So as I mentioned before, when you want to start a clip and you're in this arranger view, you need to make sure that your playhead is lined up with where you want to start. A little bit different when you're just working in the clip view here. So I'm going to turn this audio engine on. And I'll move this up to 118 for right now. And let's say I do want to start this with the intro. So I'm just going to go ahead and click play. As it stands right now, this track is just going to play back all the way through. But that's not really what I want. What I want to do is I just want to take this first 8 bars and be able to loop it. So how am I going to do that? Pretty simple. This top bar here is indicating our loop length. So if I just pull it in like this, I should be able to just play these first 8 bars. All right, that loop sounds pretty good to me. And if I wanted to then take a different section from the track, I could just duplicate this down and I could pull this bar and maybe I want to loop 9 to 17. Now I will have to move my start and end points as well. Okay, but now if I'm playing here and let's pretend like we've played it multiple times and we've just been looping this up at the beginning. So we've gone ahead and made that transition. And then this is going to loop up. A little bit of a glitch there. What you'll notice is in Bitwig, sometimes you have to let something play through once and then it can remember and do it properly. I've had that problem many times where it will play and then the audio will just cut out. Okay, cool. But I actually don't like it this way. I would prefer to always have my clips starting at 111 so I could zoom in, I could really see what's going on in the loop, and if I had to make stretch mark adjustments, I could do that. So let's walk through the process for doing it that way, and I'm going to use our arranger timeline in our other view to do this, just because for some reason I like doing it that way. So let's go back and get rid of these guys. And now I will turn on the audio engine for our first project. And you can do this either up here on the actual timeline or you can work down here. This is showing you the exact same thing. For now, let's work up here. I'm going to take my razor tool, my knife tool, which I could also just click 4 or 5 to access, but I'm just going to click it. And right now we have a lot of our snap to grid functions on, so it's going to snap right to the 9. I can click it and we've cut the track right there. Now, if I want to loop this, take my little pen, draw it across, play it up, and so you don't have to listen to the whole thing, we'll just loop right here. Okay, cool. So let's say I just wanted this segment here. I can take my time selection tool or my razor tool, and I'm just going to highlight this region, which it's already been highlighted, so we'll unclick it. And I will right click and select split to split the track here. And then I'm going to consolidate this. And now what I can do is I can select this, I can copy it, which let me again just open it up. And now I can paste it into deck 1. Now what you're going to notice is that for some reason it doesn't just cut out that part of the clip that you want, which is very frustrating. So what I'll have to do is go in here, use my knife tool, cut it, take this segment, and delete it just like that. So now we're starting on 111. We have our loop. If I turn on my audio engine, play it back. We are good to go, which is great. Now, one thing you'll notice is that you're going to end up getting a lot of clicks and pops with some of your loops. So what I would recommend you do with every single loop after you bring it in here and you slice it, and if you were not on your 111, you can obviously just slide this over there, is to click the event itself, open up the inspector, and just turn on these crossfades. They're tiny, tiny little crossfades, and they make a huge difference because I know sometimes I've cut loops absolutely perfectly and they're still giving me some clicks and pops. Typically, you can fix that by just turning on your fades. So that is one way to do it. Cool. So I'm just going to grab another segment from our second track just to give us the example. So it's solo audio 2. Listen back, see what we want. Okay, you know what? That loop is good enough for me right now in the example. I'm going to take my knife tool, cut it here, go back. I want to consolidate this, and I'm going to copy it. That is getting really annoying. Go in here, paste it, and again, I'm just going to take my knife tool, chop at this point, delete that, and we're good to go. All right, so I could play these two back. They should be playing in time. I'll go to my object selector tool, just make sure I have my in and out both on, and now I could play back deck 1 if I turn on the audio engine. And let's bring in what we have from deck 2. All right, and if I wanted to, if we're playing this back and I want to just stop one of these clips, I could just select the stop button underneath or the stop button at the bottom of the track. Here we go. All right, so you guys get the idea just like that. Very, very simple stuff. And that's really all I wanted to show you in this first video. We're gonna get into a little more advanced topics moving forward, but for now, just realize that you can do a lot of your prep work inside one project and make a lot of your copy and paste over into the other one. I think it's a lot easier because if I had this by default down at 116 or something, I never have to change this. I can bring them in, and assuming I've done my stretching properly and I have a good loop, I should be fine. Whereas if I'm working in here and I have 20 tracks I need to prep and I'm going to be constantly changing the BPM, it's going to get a little bit funky. So that is my logic for doing the most basic of prep work, just pulling out loops and dropping them into a separate project that I'm actually going to use as my mix project. So I hope that's helpful, and I'll catch you again in the next lesson.